All right, so in front of me is the graph of y equals f of x, and we see that the graph isn't continuous at x equals 2, and we are going to analyze what the limit of f of x is approaching as we approach the number x, which is 2 in the x dimension, and we're going to see the two-sided limits. All right, in previous videos, we saw that how we can evaluate just simple limits. We saw that limit as x approaches the number 2 of f of x like this. All right, and what this thing is equal to, we saw that in these previous videos. So now this thing right here doesn't seem to be doesn't seem to exist right at this point, and we are going to analyze this situation right here into both-sided limits, as we say it. All right, so what is the limit as x approaches 2 from the values less than 2, as we say that 1.5, and that's 1.7, and that's 1.8, 1.9, 1.99, and then 1.999. So as we are getting closer and closer to this 2, right from this direction, from the values less than 2, we see that we pretty much getting closer and closer to positive 2 in the y-axis. So we're getting closer and closer to positive 2 in this direction right over here, and we know that at this point f of 2 does not exist. All right, but the limit does exist, and it seemed to approach 2 from the values less than 2. All right, so the answer to this question, limit of f of x as x approaches 2 from values less than 2, we write a small negative subscript at the top of the number it's approaching to denote that this limit is approaching 2 from values less than 2. And we see that this limit is pretty much getting closer and closer to positive 2 in the y-axis. All right, so we got our second question right over here as limit of f of x as x approaches 2 from values greater than 2. All right, so we see that 2, and then we just put a little plus subscript at top of that number to know that this limit is approaching, the x is approaching 2 from values greater than 2. All right, so from in this direction, we are getting closer and closer to 2, like 2.01, and then 2.001, and then 2.0001. So we're getting closer and closer to x equals 2 at this point. And now we see that the graph, the y or the f of x, is approaching something else. It is approaching -1 at this point. So we say that this limit is approaching -1. All right, but now pause this video and think about what is the limit of f of x as x approaches just 2. Like, we are not putting any negative or positive subscript on the limit, and we know we want the answer to this question right over here of f of x as x approaches 2 of f of x. What's that approach? Pause this video and see if you can figure it out. All right, so this question right over here does not have an answer in this scenario because the limit as we approach 2 from left-hand side does not equal to the limit as we approach from right-hand side. So if these two limits are not equal to each other, so it means that the general limit, which is right here, the general limit as x approaches 2 simply does not exist. Does not exist. And that's pretty much the case every time. But we see that in some cases, by some complex calculations, we figure out what the limit is approaching in general when these two both-sided limits aren't equal to each other. All right? Thanks for watching. That's it for today. See you next time.